media res is like when like I love it when movies do that. Like you're like, or like TV shows do it even more. Like you're in the middle of, you know, it's like you're watching Star Trek and like they're in the middle of like their latest like Star Trek adventure. Like you're like, what did I miss? What's going on? I got to catch up. It's such a great narrative device.
Yeah, it instantly draws you in. That's your hook. That's your gimmick. Like you never have an intro. It always starts mid-scream. I like it. All right.
Except that I did have an intro this week, but maybe I'll cut it off and it will just begin in the middle of a sentence.
Perfect.
That's what's great about not doing these live. We can just mess up and, you know, say whatever. And if there's a problem, we'll just that's for editing, man. We'll just edit that out. That no one's gonna hear that. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, the lie we all tell ourselves when making content. I'll fix it in post.
No, it's not a lie. I really do fix it in post. I spend an inordinate amount of time fixing things in post. Actually, way too much. I need to stop.
You're interfering with that logic guy rawness.
No, there is no logic guy rawness. Logic guy is absolutely a curated, manicured persona that I Dan have created.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the logic guy rawness is entirely a an apparition, an illusion.
Oh, manufactured rawness. That's gonna be the next big Twitter thing.
I hope not, because I've invented it and copyrighted it.
Well, that means when people fight about it, it'll all come back to you. You'll get that wonderful social capital.
The social capital. Social capital is I don't even know. I don't have anything to say about social capital. We're gonna edit this part out. I don't want to go on a tangent about social capital.
It's not this like weird thing. Like it's a pretty basic concept that's been around in sociology and psychology for a long time. Like, do you have friends? Friends are important. Like people you talk to are important. Influence is important. It's a pretty common thing. It's just, you know, has a name now, so it must be something new.
Yeah, but also it's I think it's a situation where when you hear about, I started typing it and Google completed it. When you hear about something and then see it everywhere, the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. It has a word, but this is not that. This is when you learn a new word, you learn a new concept, and so you just start calling everything that, you know. Like, yeah. Saying social capital, that's the Benny Meinhof effect, the Bader-Meinhof effect, but it's not the Bader-Meinhof effect. You just have Bader-Meinhof effect brain, and so you're seeing it everywhere. That's what like the obsession with social capital seems like. Oh, that's social capital. No, social capital is actually not an all-purpose explanation for the modern social ills. It's actually just a word that you read the Wikipedia entry for recently.
Yeah, I'm really guilty of that. I can't make fun of anybody for doing that. Like I did a video on system justification theory, and now everything's system justification. I did research on humor. Everything's that humor theory that I came up with.
What's for the cheap seats? And I mean, for those of us that didn't watch the video, I of course watched your video. But for those of us that didn't watch your video, what is social justification theory?
So system justification theory is basically it's all in God's plan, and so you shouldn't worry about it. But you know, as a life philosophy. So basically, the status quo is there for a reason. It takes, you know, it gives you a blueprint that you're supposed to share. Not only you know, it's not only there for you to conduct your own life, but it's there for you to like interact with other people. So you're all operating off the same reality, and not questioning that status quo and defending that status quo just takes a big burden off your shoulder. It's like one less choice that you have to make. To use a really
I'm gonna edit in myself saying system justification theory correctly, so I don't sound like an idiot.
I gotcha. Yeah. So it's basically like it's just way easier when you do everything about the status quo and you don't question it. So, and if someone is like threatening that status quo, if they're challenging it, you're like predisposed. That's like threatening your social homeostasis. That's threatening the way you see the world, and you're more apt to defend it. We could almost call that a form of fragility if we really wanted to. Oh no! It's just one less thing to think about. It's like having like, you know, it's way easier to pick a movie when you got 2 to choose from as opposed to like 50. And so It's like, yeah, just a way to make life a little simpler.
I was gonna say it's kind of like almost a form of like Stockholm syndrome, where you feel the need to create justifications for the situation that you're in because you don't know how to get out of it. So you may as well delude yourself into thinking like it's a perfectly fine, reasonable, safe situation.
Oh, 100%. Like it makes sense why powerful people would want to like create these myths and justify where they are. It would, but system justification theory points more towards like, well, what about the people that are getting absolutely shit on under the system?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would they justify the system even as hard as they do? Some of them even like endorse it wholesale more than the people in power. Well, because if you want to believe in a just world, that you have control over your own situation, that you're not completely fucked on based on factors outside of your control, you'll start making up excuses. You'll start to think that, oh, there can't be discrimination because if there was discrimination against me and my group, that I wouldn't have a fair shot. And I don't want to believe that, so I won't.
System justification theory legitimately is something that like when you learn about it, like you start to see it everywhere because it's by definition pervasive.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about systems, so yes, you can see a little bit of it everywhere. It's just I'm trying not to fall into that trap. I'm gonna have to like tattoo that effect like on my shoulder or on my inside of my arm or something, so I can just look at it to make sure that I don't start applying this to like everything as like a cure all explanation for everything wrong with the world.
Yeah, that's a good video. People should go watch that. So I wanted to have you on to talk about something that you and I we both agree on, which is that we're both debate me bros. Like, would that be fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I accept that label and all the negative connotations with it.
Yeah. So even though I'm not quite the debate me bro that you are, I'm not. I don't accept the label. I'm stealing debate me bro valor. Actually, I'm telling everyone I'm a debate me bro, even though I only sort of have earned the right to call me that, to call myself that. But
you're a reply guy with debate me bro characteristics.
Thank you. I'm doing. You can't see it right now, but I'm doing a full salute. So like, why is that the way to be? Why is it important to be a debate me bro?
I think that you really can't understand how good or bad any sort of idea is on its own. You have to compare it to other things. So any idea it has to be compared to other ideas around it. So it needs to be put up against these other ideas to challenge, to see which one is the best, to see which one can stand up to more scrutiny than the others. So it's I hate to say it, it's a little bit before that phrase was like completely co-opted to say that we should let everybody talk for equal amounts of time and everything's equally valid. It's a little bit of the marketplace of ideas. You have to compare an ideology with other ideologies to see where you fit on that.
But you could compare two ideologies without going on a stream to debate someone. You could just make a video where you're like, oh, here's capitalism, here's socialism. Let's compare and contrast.
Absolutely. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. So in a video format, yeah, you get to lay out things, you get to structure your arguments really well, you get to use a lot of visuals, you get to make it like a more artistic medium to better make your point. The bad part about that is, and this is a good and a bad part depending on what side of this argument that you want to fall on. It's that can't be challenged in a live format. So you can make a statement, it can be completely false, and very few people are going to check in a general audience. And so you can just say something completely false, and it will go unchallenged for the rest of that video. In a live format, if you're quick on your feet, if you're familiar with the research, you might not allow someone to make a series of false statements in a row, or you're not going to allow them to make dubious and spurious comparisons or chains of logic one right after another, because you're able to stop them in a live format. But of course, that has the disadvantages too. Sometimes you're not able to. Some people just aren't really good on their feet. They stumble. I stumble a lot. I use a lot of ums and uhs. Just like
That's
that.
why I spend so much time editing, man, because my speech is just peppered with all these ums and ahs. It drives me crazy to listen to.
It's a specific.
Sorry, I derailed you there.
No, that's fine. Hey, that's another advantage of doing something live is you can interject, you can stop somebody. That can be an advantage or a disadvantage. Yeah. Neither one is better than the other. I think it all depends on like what topic is being discussed, where your skill set lies, and what the audience is going to be for either of them. So I do fully admit that Probably more so than videos, although videos definitely have an element of this. Live debate.
You mean like video essays, basically?
Video essays is what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So live debate is a form of spectacle. Yeah, I fully embrace that. Like, very rarely are you going to like find the best research or the best explanations for an idea. It really is just a spectacle to see like who is better capable of putting forth their arguments in that live format. And hey, if you have really good arguments with a lot of sources to back it up, it makes the process easier. But there is a certain skill set of speaking in a live format, formulating your opinions quickly, formulating rebuttals quickly. That's, you know, is its own kind of beast. So the best debates I've had, I've spent as much time prepping for those debates as I have put into any of my like video essays. So there's an equivalent amount of work there to become familiar with all the different topics and all the different rebuttals you need to be familiar with, 90% of which don't get used in the actual course of the debate itself.
Yeah. So if I were to defend Debate Me Bro-ism, and I do, the basis of my defense would be that wherever people are talking politics, wherever the right is, the left should be there too.
Absolutely.
We should never have a situation where someone is giving the right-wing side of things. They're telling the right-wing story. They're telling the right-wing narrative. And no one from the left is there to answer it.
We give up I think it's getting better, but we used to give up far too much ground. We used to refuse to appear on bad podcasts. We used to refuse to go into spaces where it wasn't, it was like completely right wing. We ceded far too much ground, and that's where these like people were allowed to fester.
And it wasn't just that like people were like, oh, I don't like debates. People had an ideology used to justify this as if it were a strategy. Certain people were talking, my favorite era of internet history, circa 2014 to 2017, let's say, there was a prevailing ideology among the left that to go on to, I don't know, Sargon of Akkad or whatever venue it was platforming them. That we were giving them our audience was essentially how I would describe the prevailing attitude of that period.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's completely gone away, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a bad argument. It was a bad argument then. It's a bad argument now. Like, no, you cannot make any sort of meaningful gains in like the public zeitgeist without an equivalent amount of risk. Like nothing. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, you're not going to reach anybody who already thinks like. Are you just going to make your video essays to your audience and just hope that right-wingers find it? Or just hope that people who completely hate you will see your video and be completely changed by it? No, you have to go into those spaces. It is literally the, preaching to the choir because you're afraid of the mean things the public will say about you. It's not an effective means of propagating your own ideas, and I don't even think it's an effective means of keeping people safe. Like,
in fact, quite the opposite. I actually think that, if you look at online over that period, that 2014, 2017 period, during that time, we saw really an unprecedented rise, or I don't know if it was unprecedented, but unprecedented in my experience, at least, rise of the far right permeating into mainstream culture. I don't think that's a coincidence, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that it coincided with these gigantic harassment campaigns. Because if you, and I'm sorry, there's no other word for it, if you telegraph that you're a coward, then bullies are going to come for you.
Yeah, and it's not like just making the video essays. That doesn't mean like you're free from the scrutiny or arguments from the other side. I mean, during that time, 2014 to 2017, what was a certain type of video that was really popular, especially among, we'll call it right-wing circles, or we'll even make it a little bit more broad than that, like anti-SJW types?
I know exactly what you're going for. You're talking about the SJW cringe compilations.
Cringe compilations, as well as like reaction videos, which have a lot of overlap. So someone would watch a video cut out segments of it, give commentary over it. So hey, this is another disadvantage of a video format. You're allowed to like make your opinions, but if someone is watching your video, pausing it, you're not allowed to like respond to those criticisms directly. It's happening without you. So it's not, your work isn't allowed to speak for itself. It's being commented on by someone who is probably motivated to disagree with everything you're saying, and they'll put everything you're saying in the worst light possible. And they get to watch that video, and they get to like formulate their responses to it over a long period of time, and then make a video about it. Like they get to write down what they're going to say after this sentence.
And don't forget the best weapon in their arsenal. They can clip it. They can take a clip and they can pull it out of context, maybe in a misleading way, maybe not, and they can use that as a weapon against you.
Something that should have put that whole you're platforming them to bed forever is that all these reaction videos to the left-wing commentators or the SJWs, were those SJWs being platformed? Did their internet presence get bigger and better the more right-wingers completely just shat on them? Did that improve their standing in the greater like culture? Probably not.
That's a fantastic point. All of these right-wing channels were cutting up left-wing content by. Should I name names? Should I say who? Should I name names here?
It's up to you.
I mean, they were cutting up content by people like Francesca Ramsey, Steve Shives. Who I'm trying to think who else were the
Riley J. Dennis, who was a big victim of like getting clipped.
Yeah. Riley J. Dennis was definitely one of them. Like the right wingers channels like Sargon and the rest, they cut up those people's content and put it on their channels. It didn't result in a boom on the left. That's a great point that you bring up. In fact, I remember looking at this at the time and being like, it would be Sargon's video would get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, and then I'd go look at the video he's replying to, and it would be like 5,000, maybe 10,000, a good one. Like the
5,000, 10,000 with a big dislike bomb from Sargon's video.
Yeah.
Milo Stewart.
One of the most egregious examples was Milo Stewart, who was at the beginning of their career actually a minor with maybe 8,000, 9,000 followers, and Amazing Atheist who was like 30 at the time, I think, made a video responding to legitimately like a pretty bad video by I actually really like Milo Stewart. I think that Milo like kind of grew up and like gained a lot of like maturity and is like actually like has like a cool I think that. Yeah, I think they have like a cool persona, and like I was watching that Blair White video, Calvin Guerrera video where they're dunking on Milo's like TikTok. I guess Milo has become a TikTok star, but Milo's video was so much more like fun and engaging than like their like low tier, low effort like attempt at a dunkage where they didn't score, in my opinion, didn't score a single point on Milo Stewart, in my opinion.
No. So
what the point I was getting to was what's his name? Amazing Atheist was approaching like 1 million followers at that time. So it was like a difference of like 1 million followers versus like under 10,000, I'm pretty sure. Just gigantic chasms of difference dividing the I won't call TJ a right wing creator, but an anti SJW creator versus a SJW content creator, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? It worked. Like having this person to cringe at was extreme. It still is extremely popular in some respects. Like we all like laughing at the bad people, but like laughing at the bad people, it's not platforming those people. Like it's not doing good for their career. like seeing that ground, like seeding any possible like chance to do a live rebuttal where someone isn't just able to like pause your video when they want to, or talk over you, or completely clip out context from what you're saying. That's ceding a lot of ground. I'm not saying that everybody needs to do live debate. Definitely no. It's extremely stressful. It takes a lot out of you. It has a certain type of skill set that you have to actually you have to build it just like anything else. You're not going to be good at debates going if completely green. And there's nothing wrong with not being there's like I'm doing right now. There's not anything wrong with not being able to speak clearly in a live format. That's a skill. But to say that no one should do it, that other people shouldn't do it, that people who are interested in pursuing that route, to say that they shouldn't pursue this extremely important way of getting our ideas across and challenging the bad ideas out there and defending our own ideas against scrutiny, like, I don't understand that. That's not helping anybody.
I think that there's something about it where the label debate bro, it sort of gives the game away a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's a very like masculine bro thing to do. It's sort of an arena that is maybe kind of closed off to women. Maybe it's not the most friendly, maybe it's not the most like accessible arena. Like a lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable in that environment, which I totally understand, and I don't think that.
No, that's definitely valid. Like it's very much has a vibe of like posturing and being like this dude bro is going to scream at people, and women have two marks against them. One, if they get loud and emotional and angry, they're going to be dismissed immediately, because now because when a dude does it, he's passionate. When a lady does it, she's being hysterical, and also she's going to be subject to a lot more harassment, especially if she's not conventionally attractive. So they're going to be subject to a lot more scrutiny, a lot more abuse. So it's a valid concern, but I'm not sure that that's a valid critique of the whole Debate Me Bro scene, a very good one, and one that we should try to work on. I don't know how.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit. Maybe the answer is for the left to sort of embrace a sort of masculine energy. I don't know. I feel like we've gone like I've gone in a weird direction here. Like I sound like Jordan Peterson now. Like the masculine energy was needed to conquer the alt-right dragon and save your father. Like I wasn't planning on going in that direction, but like I'm sort of arguing anyways that like, we the ideal shouldn't be like I
don't know. I kind of like the imagery you're painting. Like, put a harness on your chaos dragon and ride it into victory. I'm kind of liking that imagery.
Yeah, the masculine and feminine have to, and the non-binary and everything else. The left is necessarily an inclusive project, needs to come together to harness the chaos energy of the alt-right. I think that is the magic formula, and it's like, I get it. Debate Me Bro culture is not your scene, but I think that you can say it's not for you without demonizing it, and I think that the reason some people have a problem with it is that they're very distrustful of like men and masculinity and white men and all of that. Again, I feel like uncomfortable and in like a weird area here, but it's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it. Like, I consider myself like, I got my masculine qualities to me. I can scream and do push them. And there is a certain like some of like the worst parts of like my masculinity come out in debates. But it's something that you can make use of too, like that like drive to that drive to protect your ego. I mean, it seems selfish, but it's also a really good way to like do the research and to make sure you have the best opinions possible and to pare down like and to get that like to bolster your defenses in a certain way. I never really believed in like masculine versus feminine. I believe like good and bad. So we can code stuff as masculine, code stuff as feminine, but I think the ability to think on your feet, to passionately argue for what you think is right, to like pick apart people's arguments, to like stand up to potential harassment. I think these are just good traits that we ought to have regardless of gender. So
in that like 2014 era, there actually were people nominally on the left who did kind of embrace like debates and like what I call the confrontational left. And like the main one, for all her faults, it was Christy Winters.
Yeah,
Christy Winters never backed down.
Yeah,
always go on.
No, I was gonna say, like, for all my problems with Christy Winters, that's not one of them. She doesn't back down, and when she does debate, she does good.
She's a good debater. I've watched several of them, and like she's like good at like she did a critique. I don't typically watch Christy Winters, but she did a critique of your performance with Milo.
Mm-hmm.
And she was harsh on you. She was unfair to you. She said some like I kind of remember her saying like some like personal attacks on you almost. But she did a live stream where she like broke down your debate, and I thought she had like a lot of really constructive criticism. Honestly, I thought that I would recommend, if you're interested in, I don't have the URL, I don't remember what the video is called, but if you're interested in like getting, if you would like to become a Debate Me Bro, I would recommend Christy Winters. It's almost like a tutorial on how to do a debate, and I would recommend it.
No, I agree. There's a lot of good, legitimate criticisms that she leveled up. It's just, you know, a lot of personal attacks. Maybe not want to listen to it. It's that masculine energy. It's that fragile masculinity. I can't let a woman tell me that I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I can understand, because it was like I don't know why she came at you though. I don't know what brought it on, but she was not happy with you.
Yeah. Can't win them all.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to talk more about Christy Winters, but we're gonna say some things that I'm gonna have to go back in and like edit in Minecraft after every one of our sentences.
Wait, what do we say that needed Minecraft?
No. I was joking. We were fair so far, but I'm worried if we went on, I would get unhinged because I have like personal beef with her.
I don't even play Minecraft, so I'll be pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to name another name. Someone who criticized you for debating Milo. But by the way, would you say that people were overall like? So we didn't set this up at all, but you debated Milo on Modern Day Debates, Milo Yiannopoulos, not Milo Stewart, back in, when was it, September?
I want to say like August.
Like how did you end up doing that?
Literally someone posted, Modern Day Debates posted a tweet saying, "Hey, I have a conservative firebrand looking for people to debate," warning they're like, they're known for being really like I don't know, combative. And then LSP tagged me underneath it, and then I messaged them, DM'd them, and they said, "Hey, it's Milo Yiannopoulos. You still want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I wish it was more. I wish it was juicier than that. I wish I had to like climb atop of a mountain and pull a sword from a stone or something. But no, that's the entire story.
When he said Milo Yiannopoulos, did you get really excited?
I got a little bit terrified, and then I hit yes. Right? I said yes, I would do it before I could convince myself not to.
Yeah, that's how you got to be, I guess. Would you say that you got more negative pushback from the left when you said you were going to do that, or would you say it was more like supportive?
There were definitely a lot of dissenting voices. A few in particular were just like, "This is incredibly terrible. You should never do this. What's wrong with you?" But I'd say just based on like, since I had a reputation, I do debates. It's I wasn't somebody who's like never done a debate before. And I think I got a reputation for doing fairly well in most of my debates. So I'm not someone who I'd like to think I'm someone who people would say is pretty competent most of the time. And so I think it was mostly supportive. It was probably even more supportive than like going on the kill stream, if I have to be honest.
Right, I forgot about that one. I told you not to do it. I wasn't supportive. I told you not to do it.
Yeah. I think if I had to go back, I think I'd still do both of them.
No, I think that's absolutely the right call. I like tried to like twist your arm up. I didn't say anything on main, but like behind the scenes, I was like putting the pressure on you.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it was scary. Like I was like throwing up that day. I like canceled everything. No clients, nothing that day, and I was like throwing up in the hours before it. So it was scary. But you know what? It's
You mean like the hours before you did the before you
kill
did the
stream.
debate?
Yeah, before on
the kill stream. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
for the Milo, I don't know why. I wasn't nearly as scared.
No, it's because you built up a tolerance. The more you do these things, the more accustomed you gain confidence in your skill set because you've demonstrated it, and also you just sort of your body. I mean, you're an athlete, so you understand that your body acclimates to that specific kind of stress.
Yeah, you get used to it. I mean,
I like to think of myself as extremely pro confrontation with the right, but with this debate, because the subject of it was white fragility, I had a very specific concern. So I want to preface this with something. I favor confronting the right. I favor going into their spaces. I favor going right into their house and not their literal house. In Minecraft, you know, their fiefdom, and representing the left and meeting them on, meeting them where they live, not literally, but you never want to meet your opponent on their terms. You never want to let them pick the battlefield. This is some
like Art of War, Sun Tsu stuff.
It's not Sun Tsu shit. And I had a specific concern, and that is that you would debate Milo on white fragility, and you would cede the working class argument to the right, because I see Robin DiAngelo as an anti-worker. Essentially, Will Menaker from Chapel Trap House called her a low-key union buster, and that's absolutely how I see her. So I was worried that we would end up ceding the working class to the right.
Yeah, a valid concern, but yeah.
But
go ahead.
But I don't know what I was going to say.
This is the part. This is one of those parts you'll cut out, right?
No, this is where the truth comes through when people are uncomfortable. They're not sure where to go. This is where the gold happens.
This is where we like really get to the meat of things. So I took your. I mean, you weren't the only person to like levy this criticism. Like, hey, if you go and defend this book, you're going to get absolutely destroyed because he's just going to pull out all the quotes and make you defend them. But you were probably like the main voice in my ear saying that that's not the way to go. So the reason I still think there's a lot of criticisms to be made at me during that debate. A lot of things I could have done better, but I'm not sure that I'm still proud of what I did there, because I've never pegged someone that's just fully, and yes, I do mean that in both ways. I mean that in both ways, okay? We knew exactly what he was gonna do. He was gonna shit on the book because he thought it was about the book, even though in DMs it was explicitly about the broader topic. And when I took that away from him, he had no idea where to go, and then he was forced to try to play civility politics about how he's just here to have a conversation while wearing a Blackhawks Matter shirt.
Yeah, that's right. He wore a Blackhawks Matter shirt, thinking he was gonna trigger you. He was going to do what Natalie called mascotization. Natalie Wynn ContraPoints, what she called mascotization. He was going to mascotize what's her name? Karen DiAngelo. Her name's Robin.
Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah. That's what his game plan was.
Mm-hmm.
And you anticipated it.
And rather, I could have made my thesis a little bit better. Like if I'd done the research on like system justification theory, there is some aspects of white fragility that can be defended with like system justification theory, and I could have made that positive claim better. But in as far as like taking away Milo's shtick, I'm not sure that there was much more to be done in dismantling what he had planned to do. So
I mean, here's why you won that debate. Milo said it at the end of his debate. He goes, "Well, this was a complete waste of time." That means you won, because that means whatever his objective was going in here, he did not achieve. You didn't give it to him. and that means you won.
His objective was to get paid $500 and put his name on the map again.
That wasn't his objective. His $500 is nothing to Milo. What his objective was,
I don't know. It might be now.
That's true. Yeah.
He needs that for his like bodyguards that he still has everywhere.
He's not getting too much bodyguards out of $500.
Yeah.
But his objective was to get content for the content mill. You know, he one of his like most famous early appearances in the U.S. was it was at the University of UMass Amherst, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and it was that he was on stage with Crowder and Susan Hoff Sommers, and there was a young lady in the audience who kind of had an episode. She has an internet name. I'm not going to use it because I find that to be, distasteful and cowardly. But there was a woman in the audience. She had a very loud appearance, and she gave Milo what he needed. She gave him content that he could post on the internet and be like, "Look at my opponents. They are cowardly. They are crazy. They are unattractive. They hate me because I'm everything they are not." And it gave Milo the perfect propaganda image. And he was going on that stream to get more content like that.
Mm-hmm, definitely. The bad thing about that, the bad thing for him is that it becomes really predictable. And all you have to do is not get mad.
The number one strategic move on the internet, you have to not give your opponent content.
Yep. That's like the best. That is the best piece of advice you can give to any content creator who's going into a combative space. This could be live debate. This could be making video essays where you expect to get a lot of like pushback and stuff like that. Never give your opponent content that they can clip and laugh at, or at least do the best that you can. And if it does happen, because it will happen, if you're in the space long enough, you're gonna slip up. You're gonna say something stupid. It almost happened to me.
Also, they can just take a misleading clip. I mean, they can just lie and create it themselves.
Yeah, but when it does happen, you can't let it bother you.
Yeah,
because half of the content, probably more of the content, is like, how do you react? That's like further content that they're trying to milk from you. Like they're trying to tag you in like this clip, like, hey, you look really stupid here, haha, and they want to get you like, making fun of me, stop harassing me. They want that second wave of content. The best thing you can do.
The point of trolling is to get people to perform for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is you just need to never perform for them.
And be quick with the mute button. Don't block. Blocking is content. Blocking gives them something to screenshot.
That's a Brandon Wardell tweet. Never block. Blocking gives them content. Never give your opponents content. And when I read that, it clicked in my head. I was like, of course. I am a strategy master now because I've learned this concept. I think he was joking, but he accidentally made maybe he wasn't joking. He might have been making a real point. But if he was joking, he accidentally made a really smart point.
No, I think it's a really good point. He might have been joking, but it's still true.
Yeah. I want to read a criticism of your decision to debate Milo. I'm going to name names.
Okay.
It's Essence of Thought. I
was not ready to say like the names I didn't name earlier. That was
All right. Who is I think non-binary YouTuber, Essence of Thought, and this is what they said about you. August 5th. So you're right. It was early August. Stop platforming people that no platforming has largely erased from existence. Like fucking seriously, Milo's career is dead. Has been for a long time. So why would anyone think it's a good idea to bring him on and debate him? FML. What is FML?
Fuck my life.
Oh, okay. What do you say to that?
If what he's good at, which is the live performances, the playing to the audience, the banter, the making fun of people, getting the clip of him like laughing in some like triggered SJW's face, that's what he's good at. And if you take that away from him, what does he have? Does he have like? Is he a good researcher? Does he present arguments really well in a way that can be like? Does he go back and forth and actually listen in good faith to the other person? Absolutely not. not. All he has is the trolling. And if you take that away from him, you've declawed him, you've defanged him. Like, why not go at what he does best and show that he's not good at it? Like, I understand the trepidation there. I really do. But I think we win even when we show up. I think we can have people who are as good or better at what the right do than they are. And I think we should capitalize on that. I think we should jump at the opportunity to get our voices heard against people who, because let's be honest, nobody tuning into that stream was there to see me. Absolutely none. There's a reason that Modern Day Debates paid him to be there, because he was going to get the clicks. He was going to get people to come in and see him. Even if it might have been to like shit on him. But a lot of people were coming there because his name was on the ticket. They were not there for me. And so why cede that space to someone who might have like defended the book and got Milo the content that he wanted to get? I'm not going to cede that space. If I prepare for something and talk with enough intelligent people who are going to help me tailor my rhetoric to a specific audience, I think I can do a good job. And I think that's the confidence we need to have going forward when it comes to any sort of confrontation, whether it's that live debate, whether it's streaming formats when you're interacting with right-wing content. We need to go into those spaces. We need to appear on the right-wing podcasts, which may or may not be debates. We need to go on to the questionable news sites like Russia Today. We need to get into those spaces and not cede them. So not cede them to other people who are just going to be spouting off all this nonsense unchallenged. I don't see how giving that space up and like signaling to our opponents that we can't defend our ideas and the only way we can win is to keep you out. Why play into that narrative? I don't understand. I think we can win even when we show up. That's a thing that I've been saying ever since the Milo debate, because it's something I truly believe. I understand the criticisms, I understand the concern, but that's something I want to get I want to write it on my wall. That's like my tagline. We win even when we show up, or even when our opponent shows up.
Isn't it we win when we show up? I mean, when you're saying like even when we show up, it's almost like you can't win if you don't show up.
Oh, that's one of those live things. What I meant to say was we win even when our opponents show up. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, got it. I think the thing that Essence of Thought gets most wrong is the idea that like they're making it out like you're platforming Milo, but as you just said, everyone was watching for Milo. He's platforming you. And that's the part of the strategy that people aren't understanding. Milo was almost a household name at one point. You're showing up and you've gotten this platform because of him that you otherwise wouldn't have had.
Yeah, that's actually one of the criticisms that they levied at me. Afterwards, after the debate was done, and I put out the tweet after the debate saying something to the effect of, that was like the biggest coward ever. We should never be afraid of debating these people, or something to that effect. And underneath it, after a few hours, I'd gained like 1,000 followers or something like that. And I put out something like showing it and say that, hey, turns out platforming works two ways.
Yeah.
And they use that as like, oh, this is proof that he only did it for clout, or something like that.
Which undermines their entire. So they're worried that you're going to platform Milo, right? So what's the point of platforming? It's that they get clout, right? So when clout is in the hands of Milo and it's in the hands of the far right, clout matters. Clout is deadly. Clout is a commodity that we need to guard. But for some reason,
a synonym for power.
Yeah, exactly. But for some reason, when clout is in our hands, all of a sudden it doesn't matter at all and is totally irrelevant. That drives me crazy. That double standard drives me crazy.
Yeah. Like you can't be concerned about the power that some people are going to have if you platform them, and then criticize it when the exact opposite happens. Like when a left-wing person like gets platformed and starts growing their audience and starts growing their reach, you can't like criticize them because, hey, that clout, that power, that's how you change minds. That's how you get to a position where you're, on stage speaking to a lot of people. That's how you get to a position where you're able to influence in whatever size bubble that you have, influence other people's opinions. That's what we want. As an advocate, isn't that what you're there for? Who cares how good your arguments are if no one hears them? All right, that's like, it's almost more important to have an audience than it is to have good arguments. I'm not gonna, don't clip that out of context, but like if no one hears your arguments, you might as well not be making them. And so getting that clout, that's part of advocacy.
Yeah.
It's the part where like it's always like, you need clout in order to advance any sort of cause. But there's always in the back of everyone's mind, like, well, are you doing the cause? Are you pretending to care about this cause just for your own personal clout? It's a valid concern, but I don't think that you can just say, hey, look, this person is excited that they gained a lot of followers, and then extrapolate from that. That means that's all they care about.
I was gonna read another tweet from Essence of Thought, but I don't want to do that until you, if you're not done talking about it. This one is actually not specifically directed to you, but they quote tweeted themselves. Nazis like Milo Yiannopoulos have largely been removed from positions of power, which they have used to spur on the fascist swelling online, thanks to years of no platforming. Only for this tosser, he's not talking about you. Only for this tosser to wade in and try to help them with a comeback. Who's next? Richard Spencer. This history, the Essence of Thought is laying out, where Milo was undone by leftist deplatforming. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. That's not my understanding of what happened.
Leftist deplatforming was why he was so big in the first place.
He said so. He's absolutely said that. The throngs of people who showed up to protest him, he was able to monetize that. And Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson have said this as well.
Yeah, like what Essence of Thought's approach on that is the reason he got so big in the first place. Like you can't deplatform someone who's not on your side. You don't have the platform to take away from them. He got deplatformed from his own side. And the reason he got as big as he did, like we said, it was because that he triggered the right people. He made them all mad.
And he turned them into content.
Yeah, you know what that content was? You know what the best content you can give someone on the right, especially right now? That picture of them with the duct tape over their mouth, looking into the camera. Makeup and everything. Very obvious that they put it on themselves. But still, that picture of the duct tape over your mouth, looking into the camera, that's the best content that they're looking for. As the thumbnail for the video in which they are freely talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah. If they can play... Yeah, I mean, if they can play, I actually don't think that is the best content you can give them. I think the best content you can give them is having like some kind of breakdown, because that appeals to, like, you know, the inner psycho that lives within us all, that bully psychology that, you know, we all have in the back of our brains, where we see someone being ridiculed, being humiliated, and being taunted for it, and we think, thank God that's not me.
Thank God that's not me. And if someone is getting that much ridicule, they must have done something to deserve it. So another part of that, like, system justification theory. If you see someone getting shit on, I think that's one of the reasons that anti-SJW YouTube and like that reactionary style of content grew so much. If everyone is shitting on this person or this idea or this group of people, well, they must have done something to deserve it, right? Even if you have no idea, if you have no opinions on this topic whatsoever, if that much hate is being directed towards this group, they must have done something to deserve it. Otherwise, you know, because we live in a just world, that wouldn't happen to someone who didn't deserve it. And so I guess, you know, we do some post hoc rationalization of why
you're doing the thing, Justin. You're doing the thing you wanted me to warn you about. You're turning it into system justification theory.
I know. The worst part is this is completely right, and I
think it is. I think it makes sense. I think that, like, that's like legitimately like a something that is so pervasive that you legitimately can see it everywhere.
The best theory, it applies to everything and can't be disproven. That's scientifically valid.
Essence of Thought has there's an exchange I forgot about where they noticed that they were arguing with me, and they noticed that you had a quote from me in your bio because I did a thing way back that I had forgotten about, where I said if you mutuals reply to me, I'll do your branding for you. So you have a quote from me in your bio, and Essence of Thought saw it and determined that I was your brand manager. So they're like talking to me like I'm your manager. It's great.
Oh man, that was a thing that happened.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. It was. You know what kind of sucks? I feel like that was like my peak. That Milo debate. That's where my peak, and it's all downhill from there.
You think you're going to be looking back in 10 years, being like, man, I had it all back then in August of 20. Was it 2020? It was just a few months ago, wasn't it?
August of 2020. He's like, I had it all. I had like $20 on YouTube. I had $20 on YouTube. I was getting like 100 likes on each tweet. I had the world in my hand and I let it all fall apart, Bonnie. I'm at the bar in this scenario on my fifth shot of tequila.
You're smoking a cigar. You're married to a erotic dancer, even though a female erotic dancer, even though you're gay. But she buys you drinks and cigarettes, and this is your life now.
This is my life now, and yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
And whenever you try to make YouTube videos, she yells at you because you're supposed to be cleaning the house.
It's like every single video is like, "Shut up, Margaret! I'm trying to do a YouTubes." This one's gonna be the one that makes it big, Margaret, and then you'll see. So I've accepted it now.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely going to happen. It's locked in. You can bet on it. But I mean, whatever. We all have our peaks and valleys. There's nothing to be done about it.
I'm on a fucking ski slope right now, so we'll see. I'm about to do a jump. I'm gonna do one last jump. I'll do a flip.
Hell yeah, man. Well, aren't you? You tweeted today that you're back on a workout regimen.
Yeah, if I can't make good videos, I'm at least gonna look hot while I do them. So maybe that's my next thing. I want to get to the point where
if you're hot, you barely need to make good videos, honestly.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be like a smaller Hassan. I'm gonna be a shorter Hassan. But hey, you can't tell how tall I am on the videos.
Yeah, you absolutely can. How tall are you?
5'8".
Oh man, well that's not that short. I'm only like 5'10". I used to think I was taller, but I've been corrected. I'm like 5'10". I'm the short person in my family. All the other men are like over 6 feet tall. I don't know why I didn't get the height gene. Just skipped me for whatever reason.
My mom's 4'11", so I came out pretty okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How tall is your dad though?
5'9".
Okay, all right. So you got gypped there a little bit.
I don't know. 4'11" versus 5'9". I got lucky.
Well, no, but Justin, you inherit the height from your dad, obviously. You don't understand genetics.
Apparently not.
Essence of Thought has another. This is all dragging Essence of Thought episode, but I think that this deserves a response where they say, "What you did was the very thing that gave us Milo. It's what allowed him to travel campus to campus, attacking trans students on stage," which he did, by the way, and should have been deplatformed for. It's not acceptable to be invading people's privacy like that.
Oh, absolutely. He was an absolute shitbird who absolutely should have been booted from campuses, but that wouldn't have deplatformed him.
Right.
He would just make the rounds on the conservative media outlets. Was Prager you around back then in 2017? No,
it was definitely around. I don't know. I mean, 2017 definitely was because Dave Rubin had his "How I Left the Left" video in 2017, and that received like 6 million views or something. So PragerU was already really big in 2017, but I just don't know. I don't understand what is being referred to there. When you say platforming gave us Milo, do you mean like Breitbart? Is that what you mean? Because we don't have the levers for that. That's what I think gets misunderstood. Like the advocates of deplatforming, and I do advocate deplatforming in certain scenarios, like for instance, you shouldn't be allowed to go on stage and violate the privacy of trans students or anyone on stage. I think that's a valid reason to deplatform someone. But it supposes that the advocates of deplatforming suppose that we just have a big button we can press and cancel people. And I don't know who has that button. I don't have that button. What do you do? How do you stop Milo from having a huge platform on Breitbart or The Blaze or InfoWars or whatever it is? How do you turn that off?
Yeah, all these insular platforms who are just, ramping up rhetoric in and among themselves, and no one will come and challenge them. Like, no one relies on these websites for, news and an encapsulation of what the world is like, because it fits what they already wanted to believe. No one is going to ever have their views questioned there. They're always going to frame the other side's arguments in the worst possible light, in the most easily debunkable light. They're never going to be challenged in any sort of meaningful way because they always have the microphone. The biggest, and this I truly believe this, like if someone like Ben Shapiro or Milo Yiannopoulos type, or someone to that effect, is giving a talk on a college campus, just don't show up. Like you're not.
What if you show up to heckle them?
No, they have the microphone. Like that, the most famous example is that Ben Shapiro clip of him because it's called Boy Scouts. You know which one I'm talking about?
I don't know the Boy Scouts one. No.
No, there's this like terrified, nervous college students trying to defend like trans people to Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro, with his media training, just stomped all over her, and it got like millions of views. Never give them the opportunity to, because you know what? There's a huge power imbalance there. Like, someone else is holding the mic for you, and they can take it away.
That's literally true, by the way, because I've been to these things, and they don't let you hold the mic. Nope. Someone holds it from you and takes it away from you quickly, and then the other person talks, and they don't give it back.
Yep, and that's what we're letting them do when they're allowed to frame our own arguments. Like they get to control. Okay. Yeah, they get to control the arguments from the left that their audience hears. They get to distort it. They get to debunk it as best as they can. But going into those spaces where you're on theoretically equal grounds, like you both have microphones, you could both scream over each other. You have a moderator who can, more or less do their job. They have to compete on equal footing, and I think our ideas are better. They're more backed by data, and as long as we have rhetoric that can support them, we will win if we show up.
I disagree with you, though. I disagree with you about not going to these events. So I don't know if you've seen it, but I've gone to several of these, and they always have a Q&A part, and I always utilize the Q&A part. Have you seen the video of these?
Yeah. Actually, I've seen a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done it to Dave Rubin, and I've done it to Charlie Kirk. I've done a few others, but those are the ones that I think were really successful. And you're correct. If you're going for the number one mistake people make is that they go thinking that they're going to debate them from the audience, and you are not. It's not going to be a debate because they're going to control the microphone. You're not going to be able to touch it most of the time.
Yep.
However, you don't have to debate them. What I do when I go to these things is I have a question, quote unquote, that is just meant to expose and embarrass them. So for instance, I went to this Charlie Kirk one. It was an event with Rand Paul was there. So he was on stage with Rand Paul. And I stand in line, I wait for the mic, and when I'm up there, I say, Charlie, I want to ask you about the time you claimed that you tried to go to West Point, but they gave your spot to a black woman, and so you weren't able to go. And I'm curious, did they send you a form letter so that telling you that they gave your spot to a black woman? How would you know that? And he's standing right next to Ron Paul, who you can see, he's looking at him. He's like, what the fuck happened here? And Charlie is just like, that never happened. I didn't say that. And I've got it on my phone. And I'm hitting play, and they whip the mic away, and the whole room can see what just happened there.
You know what? Actually, I think if there is a way to do it right. You know what? I'm going to recant my earlier statement. I'm going to recant it. I've been forced under using interrogation techniques to recant my earlier statements.
I think what you're trying to say is that you've been owned by facts and logic.
I think that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
But what you've got to do is you've got to understand the environment you're walking into, and you've got to understand how to use it. And if you do those things, then he who knows himself and his enemy will win every time. And if you understand that yourself, your enemy, and the territory in which the battle happens, you will be victorious every time. That's Art of War again.
Yeah, as you were one, that is a really good example of how to do that correctly. And I remember MythCon, I was able to ask 2 questions in those Q&A panels, and almost everyone in that audience was right wing. The Q&A panels were there for the right wingers.
But wait a minute, they're centrist.
Sure, yeah, they're right wingers who want to smoke weed. That's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
so almost every Q&A question was geared towards like whoever the dedicated left-wing person was on the panel was there to just give their soliloquy about why the left is bad. That's what the Q&As were there for. But I remember like me and Destiny both got up in that Q&A panel and just challenged them. Like I got Elijah Wood, who's a fascist piece of shit, and Sydney Watson. Oh, not Elijah Wood. That's
Elijah Wood's the actor. That's the Hobbit. That's not the Hobbit. That's the guy from Lord of the Rings. What was his name? Frodo. That's Frodo.
Yeah, one of the short ones. Yeah. Elijah Schaefer. Elijah Schaefer. My bad.
Okay, I also don't know who that is. But whatever. Go on.
But they were on a panel about immigration and how we need to like keep the Muslims out of the country because they have all the wrong ideas.
This was the panel LSP was in.
And LSP killed it, by the way. But
I still haven't watched it, but he's good on immigration, I know.
Yeah, so the question I asked was, I did a little bit of acting. It said like, I'm just an SJW here, and but so I was a little bit confused because I heard that that the marketplace of ideas is important, and we need to let everybody speak. And if we just the daylight's the best disinfectant, and if we just air out everyone's ideas, the best ones will win. But it sounds like you're kind of afraid of the wrong ideas getting in. So how do you reconcile your love of America and free speech with you trying to keep out the wrong ideas? After stumbling, he admitted to like the paradox of tolerance. Like he admitted to the Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance, which is the exact thing that left-wingers use to keep Nazis from coming onto their platforms. So it can be done right.
There's a video of a student at UNH, University of New Hampshire, which is the same college where I did my Charlie Kirk thing. With Dave Rubin, and it's a young female student, and she gets the mic, and it's a Q&A. She doesn't know what to do with the mic. She doesn't have a plan. So she went into the situation. She didn't have a plan for getting the mic. You should always go in. Your objective should be get the mic and then have a plan for when you get it. But she's got it. She doesn't have a plan. But she did one thing that I thought was like so smart that I always wish I had done, which is she says, well, wait a minute, and this isn't fair. How come I can't hold the mic? And they give her the mic to hold. It was such an alpha moment.
Nice.
I also went to one with Charlie Kirk where it was sort of like impromptu. They had to move it last minute. And so they didn't have a guard on the mic. So when you got up to the mic, you just had it. And Charlie got fucking wrecked in this little tiny room in Brown University.
Nice. Yeah, they have to control what information gets into their audience. Otherwise, they look stupid because their ideas are bad.
So it's all about knowing how to use the environment and the things available to you. And if you do that, you can win. I want to ask. There's something I want to go back to. 2014 era, that was like an influential moment for me. Were you like extremely online in like the Gamergate era?
Nope, not. I mean, I knew of Gamergate. I mean, I was definitely like online in the sense that I spent way too much time on the internet, but I was like reading like cracked articles and checking like memes and stuff like that. I wasn't
Crack was great back then.
Crack was great back then.
Crack was fantastic.
It was fantastic, and a lot of the people like Cody Johnston got us started in Crack.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. Dan O'Brien, I don't know what he's doing these days.
I don't know what he's doing either, but he was incredible.
And that guy Gladstone, who I'm not that big a fan of, he was another one of those guys.
Soren Bowie, the most handsome man alive, he's a writer on like American Dad now.
He was an actor too. He did like low budget horror movies for a while.
Yeah, he's a very, very handsome man.
He's a good-looking guy, yeah.
Yeah, and really funny.
He gets the straight male seal of approval.
Yes, very much so. But no, I was on Facebook a little bit, and I dipped my toes into like arguing on internet forums, but just my toes. The first time that I like really got into an argument and when I realized that, this could be a problem for me if I don't control it well, is when I was stayed up to like 4:00 in the morning on a bodybuilding on like a bodybuilding forum arguing like gay people.
Oh my god! It wasn't the one where people argue there's 8 days in a week, was it?
No, it wasn't that one.
Oh no. I wish it. The story is taking a downward turn, but go on.
No, I mean that's all it was. I argued with this asshole who was on the forum about why gay people are okay, and that was
So it was
the
not
start.
bodybuilding related.
No, it was on a bodybuilding forum, so it attracts us. It's like I don't think it's like powerlifting and bodybuilding. They're a little bit right wing, but
Sure,
not as much as you might think.
Yeah, I have an idea they're pretty right wing, but then again, I mean everyone loves working out and lifting weights. So like, what made you want to like get involved? What made you want to do debates and be a content creator?
2016, just like everyone else. That's when I like really started to pay attention to politics. I felt powerless. I felt like the world's
Like
going
the
to
aftermath of it or the build up to it?
The buildup was like awful, but the aftermath, that sense of like helplessness, that nothing I did actually mattered because there was really important things in the world, and that it came from a place of powerlessness. So I wanted to like. What
made you think that YouTube was a place to challenge that powerlessness, though?
Because it's a low bar of entry, low barrier for entry. It's something that
makes sense. Yeah.
Theoretically, if I worked hard enough and made the right decisions, as faulty as that line of thinking might be, there's a chance I could have my voice heard and make a small impact on the world.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, for me, it was kind of the 2016 election, I guess, but that was sort of like the tail end of it. But watching the encroachment of the right on YouTube during Gamergate, I kept telling myself like, oh, this doesn't matter. This is inconsequential, and I just kept being proven wrong. Like, to me, that period was like pretty, I don't know, foundational to how I understood. It took me a long time to realize, but what I see now is that I was watching things change in real time, is what I realize now, and realizing, hey, wait a minute, this actually does matter. Culture matters more than I understood. Yeah,
there comes a certain point where you start to realize that the internet isn't its own thing anymore. Like, it isn't this like subsection of society that's cordoned off and quarantined off and doesn't seep out into the broader social like consciousness. That is the part of the society that almost everyone has access to now. Most people are on the internet at some point during the day. Now, granted, only a small amount of people are like consistently on social media sites, but it's still a very sizable portion of the population, and they might not be representative of it, but the people who are like doing the work and forming the opinions that other people are going to passively listen to, they're very active on that site. So you can't see that space.
Back in the day, we kept learning this lesson that like, oh, the things on the internet don't really matter. I remember this movie came out, Snakes on a Plane, starring Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
And the internet loved Snakes on a Plane. Everyone on the internet was talking about Snakes on a Plane. And then the movie Snakes on a Plane came out and no one went to see it. And everyone was like, oh, you see, the things that happen on the internet, they're not real life. It's just, they don't reflect what real people are talking about. And that kept being true. Howard Dean was another example of it. The internet loved Howard Dean circa 2004. He was going to be the Democratic nominee because the internet loved Howard Dean. And then Howard Dean fucking disintegrated. And we kept learning this lesson that the internet didn't matter. And it kept being true until it wasn't. And Gamergate to me was that moment where it stopped being true.
It's when the two like worlds started to overlap a little bit more. It was like the old school 3D glasses. Like the internet was the red side, the real world was the blue side. And they were finally starting to make a coherent image together.
Yeah, that's a beautiful imagery, beautiful metaphor. Really, really hits it home.